Please, allow me to show you something.
Welcome to another special episode of One Great Hand, where we look at highlights from a major competition. This time we're focusing on the final of the 2023 Bermuda Bowl. And we're fortunate not only to be able to watch some of the best players in the world in action, but also to have two world-class commentators to talk us through their pick of the hands. Nick Sandqvist and Peter Crouch have each picked out a few interesting hands from the final, and in this first of two episodes, they'll discuss Peter's choices.
Morning, Peter.
Morning, Nick.
How are you?
Yeah, I'm fine. Yeah, not too bad. I'm looking forward to discussing some of these hands from the Bermuda Bowl final.
You were there, I believe.
Yeah, I was in America playing in the transnational, which, obviously it was only a secondary event compared to the Bermuda Bowl. And they were there for 2 weeks and we were only there for a week.
Yeah.
Obviously two of the strongest teams got to the final, the Zimmerman team, and which represents Switzerland, and the Norwegian team. Lots of good players. And we're probably going to end up picking up some of the boards where they didn't do quite as well as they did on the other boards, because they're more interesting to talk about, really. I mean, it's not much point talking about how they bid a good game on this hand and a good game on that hand. If we talk about the hands that went wrong, they're a little bit more interesting.
Yes, of course. We're not here to agree with everything they did. Then we'd be quite useless. They were first and second in the round robin as well, so it seemed fitting that they should make the final. So I noticed that you have picked out a couple of hands which involves mainly bidding, and I think that's great because, first of all, you're known as one of the leading bidding theorists in this country, maybe in the world. But also, do you feel that the bidding has a lot more influence on the scores at the end of a match than play?
Yeah, I mean, I think my general view is that the higher the level, the more bidding affects the result. So if you're playing in top level events, most of the declarers will play the hands pretty well, to be honest. They may have the odd blind spot, we all do. But, the standard of declarer play, and to a lesser extent, the standard defense is very high. The bidding, it becomes a bit of what I would call a slugfest. Everybody's in there throwing bids in, trying to make life difficult for the opponents. And if you look back to, say, some of the old Bermuda Bowls, 50 years ago, the biggest difference will be the bidding. Everybody's bidding a huge amount. Lots more artificial stuff going on, and people are faced with a lot of problems that they weren't faced with 50 years ago. And we'll see some of those now when we look
Absolutely.
at it.
I couldn't agree more. I've heard numbers of people saying it's 90% bidding and 10% play. That may even be low. I agree with you completely. There are not really many hands misplayed. There might be one or two where the defense differs a little bit. Anyway, shall we crack on? You have a couple of boards from the first set to look at.
Yeah, I picked on board 2, which is at the Backer and Brogaland were north, and Kalita and Klukoski were east-west.
Yeah.
So at favourable vulnerability, Kalita opened 2 diamonds, showing a weak 2 in a major.
Yeah, he's got that.
And South doubled.
Yeah.
Now this was sort of, usually people play this certainly in Europe as a balanced hand, usually between sort of 13 and 15, or a strong hand. Now here, Brogaland's got a 12 count, so it's a bit pushy, but he's got Jack 10, 9 diamonds. And what you're scared of at this vulnerability is obviously getting shut out. So he wanted to get in early, while doubling 2 diamonds was obviously not going to. It's very unlikely the opponents are going to play in 2 diamonds double. So it's a fairly cheap way into the auction.
Yeah, he's stretching a little bit, but on the other hand, like you say, at this vulnerability, it's very dangerous not to act. And of course, if you're going to do something a little bit dangerous, it's much less dangerous to do it earlier than to wait and try to come in later.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, one of the things that we noticed from the Bermuda Bowl is opposite the multi, it's the partner is often forcing to the free level. Yeah. When they might only have an 8-card fit, and in some cases even a 7-card fit.
Even a 7-card, I've seen that.
Yeah. So here, Koski's bid 3 hearts, which is parcel correct. Now, partner's got spades, they're playing at best a 6-2 fit. Now, I would say in their defence that the Poles would generally have a 6-card major when they open a multi. They're not like a lot of players who, at this vulnerability, might even have a 5-card major when they open a multi.
We have seen quite a lot of 5-card majors, yes, and we have seen people with a double tongue facing a possible 5-card suit getting to the free level. So I know exactly what you're getting at. We're going to get to those hands a bit later, I believe.
Yeah. So when 2 diamonds double, 3 hearts, and Backer was wondering what on earth was going on. He's sitting there with a 16 count, good hand, and he's thinking slam. He knows they can make a game, and he's not sure what to do. Now, you might take a conservative position here and bid 3 no trumps. I guess you might bid 4 no trumps if it was natural, but I'd be thinking that probably they might think that's the minors. So he started with double to see what happened. Which
I think double is pretty clear, don't you?
Yeah, pretty sensible, yeah.
If partner bid 3 over major, you can bid 3 no trumps, and maybe you suggested some extras.
Yeah.
Yep.
So now it went 3 spades from East, showing a weak 2 in spades.
Yeah.
Boyer had nothing to say as Southern passed and West passed, and now Backer had a difficult decision. I think I think his choices were potentially double. Not sure what that would mean for them. If it maybe that's sort of penalty orientated, maybe 3 no trumps. Probably thinks that if he bids 4 diamonds here, that's potentially non-forcing. And I think this is one of the reasons people use artificial preemptive bids like 2 diamonds. They make it difficult for the opponents. So in the end, he decided to bid 4 spades. And I think this is probably where the wheels sort of came off in terms of them getting to a slam with 2 aces missing. Because I suspect what happened is Boyer thought this was a 2-suited hand, probably with hearts. And he bid
or maybe even 3-suited.
Yeah, maybe 3-suited, yeah.
Well,
so
I think what's pretty clear is that Boyer, for the rest of the auction, by the way, he's looking for a chance to pass something. He's still looking for a suit, I believe, because he bids his 4-card club suit. And when partner bids 5 diamonds, he suspects the partner is trying to indicate hearts and diamonds, so he gives preference to 5 hearts. And this is how the wheels came off.
Yeah, absolutely.
You mentioned, Peter, that Christian Backer might have thought 4 diamonds would be non-forcing. What's your opinion on that?
I don't like that treatment, but I suspect Christian just didn't have an agreement, because I think if he knew 4 diamonds was forcing, then he would have bid 4 diamonds. I think that's
exactly. I think there's a lot of logic to say that it should be forcing, because it's more important to have it as a forcing bid for the big hands. It's more frequent that you want to force with 4 diamonds, and the hands where you want to play in exactly 4 diamonds, they are quite infrequent. Also, you didn't have to start with a double if all you wanted to do was compete to 4 diamonds. You could wait around. Oh, you can't wait around. Sorry, you had to do something over 3.
You could have bid 4 diamonds though over 3 hearts, which again
you could have done that, which might be not forcing. So yes, I think where the wheels came off is when he cubed the opponent's suit. It's a subject quite close to my heart. I'm playing with a friend who, when we started playing, she used to cube it in the opponent's suit whenever she didn't know what to do. And over the years, we have kind of worked away that, because you only get so many bids on a hand and in your life, and they should be used to describe your hand rather than just ask partner for their information. So it's a missed opportunity to use a cubit in your opponent's suit, and it's always preferable to try to show something about your own hand. That's my view.
Absolutely. So I think here it was just probably they hadn't encountered this auction before, and last thing he wanted to do was bid 4 diamonds and see Boyer pass, or even the worst thing that can happen is when he passes slowly, because then you know it's a disaster. They're wishing that partner's going to bid, and yes. My always view is if you have these auctions where you make a forcing bid and partner passes, it's much nicer if partner passes quickly, because you don't suffer as much.
Absolutely.
Partner passes slowly, it just kills you, or kills me anyway.
It's also worth mentioning that you say they probably haven't gone through this auction, and you're probably right. But looking at how people bid today, it's probably worth going through these auctions for any pair, because there's a lot of 2 openings and preempting going on.
Yeah, I think what I would say is it's good to have some generic rules about what you do.
Yeah.
I mean, I have some sort of generic rules about minor bids. For example, not necessarily relevant to this one, but I always play that if you raise 3 of a minor to 4 of a minor without the person bidding on your right, then that's forcing. Doesn't matter what the auction is. So things like that. So here it might be a good rule might be, and I'm not trying to tell Christian and Boyer how to bid. It may be double followed by 4 of a minor is forcing, or at least have discussed it and say double followed by 4 of a minor is non-forcing.
I have some generic rules as well, and he had followed those. He would have gone plus because they involve, as you know, bidding 3 no trumps. So
yeah, all the time. Yeah, I mean,
as soon as possible, I think.
Absolutely.
So, Peter, you picked board 9. Which table do you want to have a look at first?
I think we'll look at the same table, Boyer and Christian against Kalita and Klukowski. Now here, just what we were talking about before, North has opened a multi again. So again, we're looking at multi-auction, but this time he only has a 5-card suit.
Yeah, but a decent one.
A decent one, yeah, absolutely. I'm not saying he shouldn't do it, but he's 5-3-3-2. And while I like the bid, a lot of people won't. And I suspect that this wouldn't fit into Klukowski and Kalita's sort of hand type for a week 2 at this vulnerability. I mean, this is the vulnerability that I always talk about. You just want to get in, especially first and third. First,
well, it's clearly a style issue. You say some people will and some people won't. It seems that the people who are playing at this level, they tend to do rather than don't. Yeah, I actually have to say that I think the hand is more attractive if I have an entry. Yeah. Because if I have an entry, I'm more keen to get the spade led. With this kind of hand, I know they're just going to duck their ace a couple of times and my hand is dead. So it's pros and cons.
Yeah. So what we were just discussing on the previous hand is a well, here. East pass, it hasn't got enough to bid. It's got an 11 count. And South bids 3 hearts, pass or correct. So again, forcing his side to the free level with a potentially 7-card fit, as here. Yeah. Very, very risky. I mean, some people would respond 2 spades, pass or correct, if that's their methods, which is pretty standard for a multi. So over 2 spades, partners get a bid hearts with hearts, and you don't mind being at the free level. But I would be very nervous. But this is what Boyer does. I mean, he creates problems for opponents. Yes. But sometimes these problems come back to bite you. And here, that was the case, because West passed, because double of 3 hearts, no doubt, would have been take out of hearts. So he had no bid that he could make. North bid 3 spades, showing his spade suit. And now when it came back to Klukowski as West, he was able to make a takeout double.
Well, he's got a pretty clear takeout double now. He knows that the opponents don't have. So partners either got spades or they're making a game somewhere for sure.
Yeah, and one thing he knows from the 3 heart bid is that they don't have a lot of points, north-south. So partner is marked with something. So that's why it's clear to double. And Kalita had an easy pass. Yeah. And that resulted in 3 spades double down 4 for 800. So an excellent result for East-West. Now, I guess East-West are going to make 3 no trumps anyway, because they, with the clubs 3-3 and with North not having an entry, although there's a possibility, I guess, that they might have a club entry if they cash the ace king and Boyer discards the queen of clubs. Yeah, but there's other options. You could possibly lead the jack of clubs from East on the first round, and now duck if the queen's played. So there's also, you
can also try to. I mean, hearts are 3-3 as well, so you can get 9 tricks that way as well. No, it will. I mean, Kalita will find a way to make it in practice, but obviously he's got a clear pass of 3 spades. Yes, okay, absolutely. So let me ask you this then, because you have probably watched a bit more of this than I have. These preempts that now went for 800 in the long run, do you think they're showing a profit?
Cool, goodness me. I don't know is the honest answer. I mean, I think the multi at favourable vulnerability is a difficult weapon for the opponents to deal with. I think it makes their life very difficult. I think often when you're going to get a big penalty, you tend to bid 3 no trumps at this vulnerability, because you think, we might only be getting 300 and we're going to get 600. So I think North-South get away with it a lot more than you would think in these auctions, because the opponents just bid 3 no trumps. I've seen that happen a lot. I've done it myself. I'm thinking, I better not take pass and take the money because it's not going to be enough. I'm going to lose 7 imps if I get 300.
It's also easier and more comfortable to declare than to defend. So.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think people get away with it a lot, this vulnerability. I personally am not a free heart bidder with Boyer's hand, because I could potentially open 2 diamonds when I'm playing multi on queen to 5, king, and I'm frightened to death of the opponents doubling me and getting passed out and going for even 1100. So I don't know. I mean, that would be a very interesting study to see if these bids show a profit, but it's a lot of work.
It might depend a lot on who you're playing against. I mean, you're not always going to play Kalita and Tchaikovsky. Sometimes you're going to play people who can't handle it so well, and also who don't take the penalty they should be taking so often.
Yeah, absolutely. I definitely think it's a good weapon against players that are not so strong, and that's one of the reasons, I guess, the ACBL initially didn't let you play multi, because they didn't want people to use this weapon against the average player. And then secondly, they even allowed people to have their own defenses at the table against it, in any ACBL event, which is, and to me, and I guess most Europeans, is incredibly weird to allow people to have their defenses. But that's been going on for a long time.
Well, I think the whole idea of trying to ban people from doing things and stopping people bidding things, it's very wrong. You don't really want to get me started on that. But I wanted to add something to this discussion. Pardon me. And that's what I like to think of as psychological pressure. Now, by being active like Boy is here, playing against these guys, it might feel like every time it's your turn, they've done something that makes it difficult for you. It's like they're tearing away at you on hand after hand after hand after hand. So, I mean, okay, it's 800 this time, but if the opponents continuously put you under this kind of pressure, it's very, very difficult and tiring to play against. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I would. And bear in mind, although they conceded 800 here, a lot of the time that's just 5 imps out, because they're making 600 at the other table.
Yeah,
and that's no big deal, basically. It's obviously you don't want to lose 5 imps, but it's not the same as going for 800 against a part score, or 800 when they, against a different, when they can't even make anything at the other table. So 800 here is no massive disaster. And I think they lost 7 on the board, wasn't it? Because they went for 500 at the other table.
2 space doubles for 500. Yeah.
We have a look at the auction at the other table.
Yeah, absolutely. Just swap to the other table. So when pass from North, like you said, it doesn't really fit his methods. And Zimmerman opened a diamond third in hand.
What do you think?
Okay, I mean, I'm okay with opening light third in hand. That's fine. But if I do it, it's because I want to suggest a lead.
Yeah, it's not. I mean, I'm quite a light opener in third seat, but it's usually a good suit, or I'm going to open a preempt. And for me, South's hand doesn't fit either of those, so I would have just passed it South.
I think I would agree with you. It doesn't do much damage. If you can open a spade third in hand, at least it takes away the 1 level. But a diamond doesn't really do that much. But okay, I mean, each to his own. And while I'm at it, I mean, I want to mention that the boards I watched, Pierre Zimmerman played incredibly well.
Yeah, but the problem with the 1 diamond opening came back to roost to a certain extent, because it went 1 diamond and West had no sensible bid, so he passed. North responded to spade, and now when Zimmerman passed his South, which was really his only option, most people play it. If you pass one of a major, you're showing free card support.
Really? I don't. What are you going to do if you've opened light?
Well, that's the problem. You're supposed to make a rebid, basically. So I think that's what happened here, because when South passed and West now was able to double 1 spade for takeout, North was expecting 3 spades opposite. And I think that's what caused the problem. He bid 2 spades and now pass. West did well to double again, and East had a fairly straightforward pass. Now, if let's say, for example, North hadn't bid 2 spades, are we convinced that East-West would have got to game? Maybe East would have jumped to 2 no trumps over the double, but he might have just bid 1 no trump, thinking partner's just protecting 1 spade double. So 1 diamond might have worked very well here. What would you have done, Nick, if it had gone 1 spade, pass, double? Pass?
Yeah, I was just looking at that. for sure, partner might just be protecting. It could be right to bid one no trump. I mean, your longest suit, Jack to 5 spades, is not really going to produce anything except maybe a slow stop. So it's not very attractive. And like you say, they may have done enough damage already.
Yeah, so I mean, Zimmerman's sort of action did work quite well opening a diamond here because it stopped them.
It may have done.
It may have stopped them bidding game, and I think the problem being is that when he passed 1 spade, North expected him to have at least 3 spades, well, to have exactly 3 spades. And maybe, although you don't play that, I would say that's a fairly common treatment, that as a third in hand opener, you pass partners one of a major, you're showing 3 card support.
That was news to me. If I open third in hand with ace queen to 5 and out, and partner bids my doubleton major, I'm going to pass, even if I only have 2.
Oh, absolutely. I think you have to if you do it in this hand. I mean, Zimmerman couldn't make a rebid here. I'm just saying, what's one of the problems of opening this hand 1 diamond? Because he didn't have a rebid. He couldn't pass 1 spade without maybe showing 3. I may be wrong. Maybe Zimmerman's pass didn't show 3 spades, but the fact that North bid 2 spades makes me think it's quite likely that he was expecting 3.
I'm sure they haven't discussed it. It's not like these guys have played a million boards together yet. So I mean, I'm not sure it's come up in discussion. Again, I was just thinking here, Novoselsky bid 2 spades and he got into trouble, and that was bad luck, whatever. But all of these players, what they're showing is that they'd rather try to get in the opponent's way. And if they go for a penalty, okay, so be it. Maybe it's too often and maybe it's not making profit. But they're not lying down. They're not saying, okay, you guys take over the bidding. They're trying to be active whenever they can.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, it's a fun way to play. When you talk to people about their approach to bridge, I like the active approach, because for me it's a fun way to play. The people who prefer to play much more conservatively don't like this approach, but for me,
they're also much easier to play against. The active approach is much harder to play against. That's why they're doing it.
Yeah. Okay, so we move on to another board. Another example of active bidding. So South passed, had nothing sensible to bid, you would think, but we'll go to the other table in a minute and see what South did at the other table. and West opened a club, pretty normal. This would have been Polish club. For those not familiar with that, it's generally a natural, a weak no trump, or a very strong hand, usually 18 plus. Now, I guess he was going to show the 18 plus hand with a strong hand here, but he was stopped doing that by North overcalling 3 diamonds. And what do you think of 3 diamonds, Nick?
I don't mind it. And I'm going to tell you why. Because I got king 10 9 8 to 7 diamonds. So if I bid, say I bid 1 diamond, then I'm intending to bid again. And if I'm going to take 2 bids, I might as well make 1 high bid. I mean, I'm keen on taking away space for the opponents. Now, I'm not sure I like having so much on the side. I don't like the singleton king, and it's cards that make it less likely that I actually make a game if I go for 300. But I'd rather take 1 bid, so I'm going to go for bid 3 diamonds. I don't mind it. What do you think?
I'm all for varying my preempts when partners are past hand. So for me, I wouldn't bid 3 diamonds if South partner hadn't passed originally. So let's say West was dealing and opened a club, I would just bid a diamond. But here partners passed, so I'm trying to make life difficult for the opponent. So in this instance, make life extremely difficult for me by bidding 3 diamonds. So I quite like 3 diamonds. I'm guessing 2 diamonds wasn't an option. They would probably play that as both majors. That's a pretty common treatment now. When the opponents open a club, 2 diamonds is 5-5 in the majors, and 2 clubs is natural. I would say.
Yes, but also, I mean, having seen what their 2-level preempts look like, he might just think he's about 3 tricks too good. He might want to have Jack to 5 and the 5 count or something for 2 diamonds. If it's weak, I mean.
Yeah, but what do you think about the variable? How you vary your preempts opposite a past partner? Because I quite like bidding 3 diamonds with quite good hands here, as well as bidding with quite bad hands.
I mean, I tend to be possibly more careful if partners are past hand, because I'm more wary of going for a penalty. On this hand, I'm not going to worry too much because I got quite a good diamond suit. But yes, of course, if you have side suits, if you have other options of playing, then it's very dangerous to preempt if partner is not a past hand, because you might belong in your 3-card side suit or in your 4-card side suit. But opposite the passed hand here, I have to say I would bid 3 diamonds, and I would also go for a penalty. I can see it's all the diamonds are sitting over me, right?
Well, Kalita was thinking this is the bid I wanted to see, basically. And
there's one more bid he wants to see, and that's
absolutely. He wants to see partners double. But when you've got ace queen jack to 5 diamonds and it's gone past one club 3 diamonds,
partner will double.
Partner's going to double. He's going to have an opening bid in all likelihood, because that's passed. So he was just licking his lips, and that was 800. I don't know if there was anything to the play. I haven't really followed the play, to be honest.
I don't think so. I mean, I was wondering if it's possible not to give declarer the king of hearts, but I don't think so. You can't play clubs more than one round. You can't stick him back in hand so many times. So he has to make the king of hearts and the spade, and then whatever he makes in trumps. He went 3 after this.
It looks like on a club lead you might go for 800. Let's see what the play says.
Peter, we're just used to these contract always going for 800.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you look at the play, Kalita led the 5 of clubs, which is standard for Polish players to lead low from doubletons. A lot of Europeans do that.
Let's try the very sneaky queen of hearts. Was it cheeky?
So Christian won the king of hearts, and I'm guessing at this point he was actually called out for 3 off according to Jib. So maybe it's not worth going. On the actual lead, he would have been down at 4 down. So I'm wondering what Klukowski needs to do. Klukowski, one of the great players in bridge, and perhaps along with people like Helga Mo, 2 of the strongest declarers in bridge. So the fact that he switched to the queen of hearts, let's have a little look and see what Jib said he could have done.
I wonder if he could give declare the queen of clubs in dummy and then use clubs to promote partners trumps. He doesn't know that, of course, but I think he's not giving away anything vital by playing a club back. That could be the play too.
Yeah, well, what Jib is saying is that you have to switch to a trump, which looks quite a strange play with avoiding the dummy.
Switch to a trump.
Yeah, it says you have to switch to a trump to beat it 4. I guess that's just shortening partner's diamonds, so he doesn't get sort of end played at the end. I haven't seen the play, but very difficult. I mean, it looks pretty normal to do what he did, and 500 looks a fairly, looks a good result for East West because.
Well, I mean, no, you say normal, but declare could have had the singleton king of hearts, and then it wasn't such a success to try the queen.
Yeah, I suppose it's quite unlikely partner's going to have 5 hearts to the 5 hearts, but he, if he had 5 hearts and he's queen jack to 5 diamonds, he might probably still pass 3 diamonds doubled. So, could be.
Okay, well, I have to say I wouldn't find a Gib trump switch here. I would be trying to do something more active, like Klukowski did.
Yeah. Okay.
Interesting, actually, that you have to start shortening partners trumps. You have to start drawing trumps effectively.
Absolutely. So let's have a look at what happened at the other table, because there's lots of fun going on at the other table as well. Because
here you have another very solid week 2 from South.
Well, I think here two spades were spades and a minor.
Yes.
So here it was like a Lucas style, or Muderberg, is it? What people in Europe tend to call it? So
I think they've been called all sorts of stuff, and some of them I'm not sure are suitable to say on this broadcast. I could say something about this one, for example. I'm sorry, it's not my style, but then again, clearly I'm not as active as I used to be, or as I should be. But it's good to see Pierre Zimmerman joining in the fun here.
Absolutely. I mean, 2 spades for me would be a no-no because I've got 4 hearts to the 10. I don't mind it from 3rd seat, but the 1st seat, I'll be so worried about it going all past and finding out we were laid down for some game in hearts, basically. When we're playing 2 spades. But, maybe you just shouldn't wait for these situations. If you're playing these sort of methods, you just need to get in there, basically. I mean, that's probably what his view is. So anyway, he opened 2 spades, and West now, had a very, very good hand for the 3 club overcall in terms of he had a lot of potential. So anyway, he overcalled 3 clubs. I suppose another option potentially was to overcall 2 no trumps, which looks a little bit weird, but I'd be worried.
I'm not loving it. It's too AC. I mean, we could very, very easily have something like 6 clubs on.
Yeah, okay.
I'm not in love with it. I don't mind being a little bit strong for my free club bid. My partner might take an action. And also these days, nobody ever passes, like you can see on this hand.
Yeah. So then it went 3 clubs, 3 spades for North.
Yeah.
Pass to West. And what do you think of West options now?
Well, I mean, I was going to say it looks clear to double, but then I'm looking at that singleton diamond and only 4 hearts. And the fact that partner will never pass 3 spades double. But I suppose he has to.
I'm not a fan of double here. I think it's potentially a disaster. You've got 4 cards in the other 2 suits. For me, it's either pass or 3 no trumps, basically.
Right.
I think 3 no trumps is a possibility if partner's got the king of clubs or something, king to 3 clubs, maybe not much else, and a slow diamond card, and maybe you could make 3 no trumps, but it's pretty unlikely. I think pass looks sensible to me.
Come to think of it, our partner hasn't acted over 3 spades. I mean, partner could have stuck a little double on 3 spades with anything like a singleton spade and king to 4 hearts or something
absolutely.
like that.
So
I think maybe I agree with the upside with 3 no trumps, I suppose, is that because you haven't bid it sooner, you must have doubts about it.
Yeah, absolutely. And you showed long clubs, and you must have this sort of hand. You can't be much stronger than this because you wouldn't be able to overcall 3 clubs. So if I'm going to bid, it's going to be, other than pass, if I'm going to make a positive bid, it's going to be 3 no trumps here. Partner can always remove to 4 clubs if he doesn't like it. I'm expecting partner to have 1 or 2 spades here. Quite a lot of the time he'll have 2. Because a lot of the time when Saf who's shown 5 spades, bids 2 spades, partner's going to race to 4 spades with 4 card support. So I expect partner to have 2 spades, not much support for clubs, and probably fewer than 9 or 10 points, I guess. So you need a specific hand to make 3 no trumps make. It probably needs the heart finesse to work, and that's probably unlikely after South's open 2 spades. So for me, I think pass is the sensible option with the West cards, but as we've been discussing so far, all the players are active. They're all trying to get in.
Super active. Now, if you don't, I mean, my knee-jerk reaction, looking at the hand, is like, oh, I got a good 3 club overcall. I ought to double when it comes back to me. But I think you've talked me out of it. And also, I'm still wondering what to do when partner bids 4 diamonds over my double.
Yeah. Well,
what are we going to do?
Well, you're probably going to pass and hope, because
I think I'm going to pass before it gets any worse, because I think if I bid 5 clubs, I'm sure that North is waiting for me. I think you're right. I think 3 no trumps is a more sensible option. I mean, pass is the most sensible option, but I mean, we seem to be excluding pass as a bid at any given opportunity.
Yeah, for me it's pass, and then if I'm going to bid, it's 3 no trumps. But that's my only options, I think.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was going to sort of check with you if we like Sandqvist's race to the 3 level with only 3 trumps and not that useful a hand, but he picked up a better result than defending 3 clubs would have done. So
absolutely,
he got something out of it by being active as well.
Yeah, I mean, maybe partner. I mean, it's from his point of view. One thing he knows about this hand is partner's got clubs.
Yeah.
So that's one of the things that maybe would make him think that maybe I shouldn't be bidding 3 spades, because he's not going to like the auction if it goes 3 spades, pass, double, or pass.
No, but he's also shutting out the possible 3 heart bid, and that might be the upside here, because he doesn't want East to be able to bid his ace queen to 6 hearts easily.
Yeah, and from his perspective, he thinks the opponents have got an 8 card heart fit.
Yeah.
He doesn't think his partner's going to have 4 hearts here.
No, exactly.
So that's probably why he's bid 3 spades. He knows probably if it goes pass, double, or pass, which is pretty unlikely, to be fair. It's probably not going to be the best spot because they'll lead trumps, and then partner's going to be sitting there looking at some clubs and not being able to do anything with them. But I think the fact that he was expecting the opponents to have an 8 card heart fit, or at least an 8 card heart fit, has made the decision for him to bid 3 spades.
Yes, absolutely. Well, I mean, so far we have looked at 3 or 4 hands, and the activity is the hyperactivity is not making a profit so far.
Regular viewers of our videos will have observed this prominence of aggressive preempts in high-level competition. If you haven't already watched Zach and George's Adventures in Poland, that contains some great examples of the success of these tactics. Our next video will feature Nick's choices from the final, and more fascinating insights into bridge at the top. If you enjoy these videos, please do consider supporting our work via Patreon. Funds raised this way go directly to our Bridge for Schools project, without which most of the highly talented and enthusiastic youngsters emerging from that program would never have encountered the game. Please visit www.patreon.com/ntbridge.
Please, allow me to show you something.